I'm naturally a very shy, quiet person. If I was with a group of friends and I was trying to tell a story, for instance, I would struggle to hold their attention and I would struggle with the nerves I would be feeling. Yet today, I'm a public speaking champion. I'm a professional speaker who speaks around the world, and I know exactly how to hold an audience's attention from the start to the very end of any presentation. So what changed? Well, I learned how engagement works. You see, there are three powerful ways to engage an audience. And if you give me 5 minutes, I'll make you 5 times more engaging when you're doing public speaking. So let's get into it. The first way to increase your engagement is to use the power of curiosity. I first realized the power of curiosity when I was working for WWF. Not the wrestling, the wildlife charity. Basically, my job was to stand on a busy high street and persuade people to adopt a giraffe, a panda, a lion, an endangered animal of some kind. And at first I'd walk up to people and say, "Excuse me, sir, have you got a minute?" Or, "Excuse me, madam, can I talk to you about animals?" And you know what happened? They walked right by me. Because I wasn't making them curious in any way. But I had a colleague called Jack who was much better at this. And he would approach people by saying, "Sir, what do you think elephants are most afraid of?" And very often they would stop, think, and then talk to Jack. Why? Because he created curiosity. People wanted to know what the elephant was most afraid of. Maybe you want to know that now. I'll give you a hint. It's not mice. The point is, because Jack created curiosity, he was able to draw people in to having a conversation with him. And you have to do the same in your presentations. You have to constantly be creating questions in your audience's mind. So how do you do that? Well, you can ask a question like Jack did. Or you can make an intriguing statement. I'm going to tell you something that will change how you view public speaking. That statement creates a question in your mind. What is it? What is the thing that's going to change my perspective? You've got to be doing something similar in your presentation throughout it. At the very beginning with a hook, of course, but also every few minutes or so, saying something that makes the audience want to hear us more. Saying something that makes them curious. The second way is to use the power of entertainment. People love to be entertained. The most popular TV shows, the most popular YouTube channels, the most popular people tend to be the ones who entertain others the best. And in public speaking, entertainment is just as powerful. If you can tell a story that captivates the audience, or if you can tell a joke or have a bit of humor that makes them laugh, the levels of engagement in your presentation will soar. And a great way to do this is to have a little bit of entertainment when you're introducing yourself. For example, here's an entertaining story that I tend to use at the start of my presentations. My fear of public speaking began back in school. We were reading a book by Shakespeare, and it was my turn to read to the entire class. But I'm a dyslexic, so I'm not very good at reading. So in front of my entire classmates, holding up the book, shaking in my hands like this, I read aloud to the class, "To pee or not to pee? That is the question?" Now, often audiences find that quite funny and they begin to laugh and their engagement goes up, but it also serves a purpose because it introduces them a little bit to me and my origin story and how I began my public speaking journey. So if you can find ways to have entertaining stories which are related to your content and which fit with the flow of your presentation, they can be a wonderful way for making your audience fully engaged in the experience you're creating. The third way is to use the power of new. New things create a lot of engagement because they're exciting, they're fresh, they're something different that have not been heard before. To be clear, when I'm talking about sharing a new idea, it doesn't necessarily have to be a new idea for you. You might have known about this idea, this concept for many, many years, but your audience might perceive it as something new. And when they do, their engagement goes up because they've never heard it before. I experienced this myself when I was learning how to run a sub 3-hour marathon. I found a video on YouTube by a runner called Florian Gehren, hope I said that right, that absolutely blew my mind. This guy was running a sub 3-hour marathon around a running track while filming without even breathing heavy, which is insane. And in the video he was explaining that if you want to run faster, you have to first run slower. In other words, if you run at a slower heart rate, it builds up your body's endurance and you're able to run at higher paces because your heart is no longer jumping out of your chest when you begin to run fast. And I'd never heard that concept before, of running faster by running slower. So it really intrigued me, it engaged me, and I watched the entire video as a result. You can do the same in your presentation. Add in different perspectives, new ideas that perhaps your audience might not have heard or considered before. That will lift the engagement of the room once again and have them hanging on your every word. I've got to be honest with you. Engaging an audience is not just about making them curious, entertaining them, or sharing new ideas. You've also got to deliver this information in an engaging way with your body language. So, I made a useful video on the do's and don'ts of effective body language. This will take your presentation, your delivery, your levels of engagement to the next level. Click on that video if you're interested in learning those tips.